Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar by the OSIRIS project, Communities in Control. My name is Marije Kattenwinkel. I work for the Province of Drenthe in the Netherlands and today I will be your host. Let me tell you a little bit about OSIRIS first. OSIRIS stands for Open Social Innovation. It's a program sponsored by the European Interact program. And together with our partners, we are searching for new ways to activate local communities. How can we facilitate them? And how can they help us improve our policies? So today we are going to talk about that. The last years we've carried out a number of projects and we exchanged good practices with our partners. But then COVID came. We were all sitting at home. So that brought new questions. How could we stay in connection to the local communities? How could we cooperate? So we had to find new ways. Today we are going to share our experiences about that. I'm not doing that alone, so let me introduce you to the people at the table. First, Jan van der Bij. He has a lot of experience in local community and he did a project for us in the OSIRIS project. Gerard Meijers is the project manager of OSIRIS in Drenthe. And Rolina Eschendaal is the secretary of the Eeksterveen Community Center. It's one of the projects we are highlighting today. So, we're going to talk about the projects, but later on you can pose your questions by using the WhatsApp number. So, feel free to do that. We're going to start with Jan van der Bij, who is highlighting the theme of today's webinar. Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Communities in Control, the way to a successful community project. With the ambition, together we'll change the world, one community at a time. I've been a consultant to a large number of community projects. This here is my experience. It has become kind of a rule for community projects, or I prefer people power projects. At OSIRIS and in LEADER and in numerous other regional and local programs, policymakers and authorities strive to improve the wealth of a region, trying to make it more viable, more resilient and more sustainable. This is a praiseworthy endeavor, often considered a real opportunity by residents of that region. But the real incentive for action by a community lies elsewhere. I'll briefly elaborate on the three most common incentives. The first one. A facility or an amenity is closing or disappearing. A swimming pool, a care home, the village supermarket, the village pub, the village green, a village pond, or a bus service. Communities look and find alternative ways to run these facilities and to keep them viable. The second one. We can do it better, cheaper, closer to the people. We can do the maintenance of the roads, the road shoulders, the village parks. We can organize care services cheaper and closer to the people. We can start community businesses like the village shop, transport, energy, internet, art and crafts, a veggie garden. Residents have easy access to these services. Questions, problems, complaints are dealt with and solved immediately, a much cheaper way than via the ponderous roads of a local or regional authority. Communities seek cooperation between community workers and local contractors. Villages often choose a cooperative structure for building local power and local entrepreneurship. And the third one, maybe the most important one, we want influence, control. We want to control our lives, our environment, our living space, our homes, our services. We are not satisfied with what authorities often call participation. Real influence is control. Together with the entrepreneurs, the services, the residents, and in co-creation with local and regional authorities, we want to control our communities. In the UK, this community movement was translated into government policy, the right to challenge. Authorities saw the positive impact on civil society when communities were much more in control of their physical and social environment. Also, communities were able to considerably lower the costs of services that used to be the responsibility of local authorities. The right to challenge means that the community can challenge a local authority or public service by saying, "We can do this better or cheaper than you can." Other countries copied this. The Dutch Parliament adopted legislation along these lines as well. So in the Netherlands we have our own right to challenge. So, together we'll change the world, one community at a time. It's a quote from Locality, the UK Organisation of Community Businesses. Generating a community project in 5 steps. So how do you start a successful community project? How can you make it work? Make it viable? How can you make it sustainable? To begin with, a project has to be or become a community initiative. It needs broad support among community residents to survive the project phase, to get past the one-hit wonder euphoria. Everybody in the village must really want it badly, must be ready to invest in it, mentally, physically, and sometimes financially. So here are the 5 steps. 1. Energy, drive, a vision, a vanguard of the community, a leading group. An initiative has to start somewhere, often in the minds of a few residents or a couple of neighbors in a village street. These people share a vision, an idea about how to change or improve something. There is energy there, a drive, a true drive to achieve something. This vanguard of the community, for want of a better word, in Dutch we say kopgroep, initially takes the lead. The people in this group create the first outline of the project, the initiative. 2. Everyone is involved, broad support. In order to get the broad support a community initiative needs, the vanguard has to organize an open debate. The group has to familiarize the community with a vision. It needs to tweak its ideas with residents' suggestions. The community as a whole must embrace the vision. And the residents need to be activated. Their support has to be translated into concrete action. This also means that newly recruited residents are being added to the vanguard group. 3. What do you really want? Dream scenarios. The outcome of the community debate, adding up the vanguard's vision and residents' suggestions and ideas, leads to a reservoir of thoughts, wishes and dreams. Now is the time to zoom in on what the community really wants and needs. Dare to think big, but also focus on possible scenarios and make a choice, the translation of the village dream into a concrete plan. 4. How? Organization, legal structure, business case. So how are you going to organize that plan? Who will be responsible for what? Who is going to do all the work? And which legal construction will you choose for your initiative? Many projects and their communities opt for a cooperative, but a foundation is also an option. Advantage of a cooperative is that it's a democratic structure. The organization has members who are in control. In order to survive and stay viable, a project needs a sound business model. Investment planning is necessary, as well as a realistic estimation of turnover and profits. Have a business case brainstorm session and think out of the box about which aspects of the initiative can generate income. And think about funding. Which sources can provide startup money? Can a crowdfunding campaign in the community or among local businesses help? Ideally, this means that grants by local and regional authorities, if at all applied, are only used to help initiate a project or program or process. A subsidy for a startup, the founding of a cooperative, money for refurbishing a community building, etc. The projects become self-supporting or are financed with regular government budgets that would otherwise also have been used for the same service. No extra money is needed. Difference is that less budget will be necessary. 5. Start. Party time. But also, this is where it's for real. This is where the real work begins. Mark the start of the project. It's party time. And in general, never skip an opportunity to celebrate milestones in your project. But also from this day, the real hard work has to be done. No more talk. This is for real. The project needs to prove its feasibility. And we have a 5+. What is needed to make the project last, to make it future-proof? Well, based on equality, keep developing what is needed, which is not necessarily growth. Invest in debate, cooperation, support, organize future studios and information and knowledge meetings. Make a point of really doing all this together, with the community as a whole, using all local talents, and be aware of which talents you need. Invest in creating a sound multi-annual budget plan. Never become dependent on grants. Remain self-sufficient. That's how you stay in control. Intensify communication with members, residents, with your networks and strategic partners. And never let adverse developments confuse or deter you. All this leads to the following statement. For a community to be in control, to successfully initiate a project and make it last, these 5+ steps are essential. Skip one and you'll come across gaps in your process. Skip one and the foundations of your project will be unstable. Thank you.
Well, thank you for this beautiful story, Jan. I'm curious, what's the grader in one of the first slides? Is that a community project too?
Well, it isn't a Dutch farmers' protest to begin with. No, but it's indeed it's a community project. A small village challenged its local authority, and they're now doing the maintenance of the roads and of the waterways and the road shoulders. And there's a lot of dirt roads in that area. And they decided to maintain those as well because there were lots of complaints about the maintenance the local council did. And now they're very satisfied. The residents are very happy with the village taking over this maintenance. And they bought their own grader. Yeah, nice. Which is the grader they are doing the dirt roads with. And the funny thing is, they're making a good money with all this. They can do it a lot cheaper than the council did. And with all the surplus money, they do all kinds of village projects now.
Oh, that's nice.
It's a successful one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also can imagine that there are a lot of volunteers for the grader.
Yes,
that must
yes,
be cool.
And they have other big machines as well.
Yeah.
You know, to scrape all the road shoulders. And the big machines are very popular.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned broad support. How can the Vanguard Group organize that?
Well, they all choose their own way in that, of course. But the ideal situation is to have a door-to-door survey, and most ideally to do that as an interview. That would be best. That activates people. But it can also be done online. Yeah. And you see communities where they think this is too much work, and we choose to have big meetings in the community hall and discuss the matter and the suggestions there. And also you see communities who invite all their associations in the village, which is also a way to find out what people think, because you can say that these associations represent the whole village, you know. But I always prefer the first one.
Yes, yes. Because if you only organize a meeting, most of the times only old people show up there. So maybe if you go door to door, you also reach young people.
Yes, otherwise you only have the usual suspects, as it were.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's true. That's true. You can, of course, have more than one meeting and target on the young people and on the professionals, etc., etc. So you can play with that a bit, but I still prefer a door-to-door survey.
Okay, thank you. Gerard, do you agree with Jan on the statement that all the 5 steps are necessary?
Yes, of course. But I want to ask to Jan, but how do you get the power in the project when you take the 5 steps? And on what step comes the communication?
Well, it begins with the Vanguard group. They are a group sitting at a table like we are now, and finding out about a new vision for some project in their community. And then they talk about how can we communicate this? How can we get the rest of the community how can we activate them? How can we make them understand our vision and embrace our vision? And that's the moment where you start communicating and where you go door to door, as I explained. That's the main and best way to communicate a project like this. And that also generates a lot of power, because when you talk to people about it and you do that in the shape of an interview, for instance, instead of only online, then people say, oh, I like that. I want to do this or do that. In the project with the grader, we found a lot of people who weren't really a part of society, of the community. And what we saw is that when we asked them to take part, for instance, to do a little bit of grass mowing near their homes, do your own road shoulder. We have a lawnmower for you, and they borrowed the lawnmower and they got active.
Yeah.
And they liked it, and they came to the meeting as the cooperative later on. So the power is generated by just doing it.
Yeah, and real contact is important.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Rolina, you also did a project. Do you agree with the 5 steps Jan mentioned?
Yes, and I will tell you when I speak about the community hall in Eeksterveen. You first have to have a dream, and then you have to activate a small group, and the small group has to get bigger. And what Jan says, you need some steps, and you don't have to have a theory about it, but you have to think as a small group how to become bigger. So participation of the village is very important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Gerard, over to you for your presentation. You did the OSIRIS project part 2 in Drenthe. How did it go?
Thank you, Marije. Yes, I did part 1 and part 2, but now I want to tell something about part 2. In the extra 2 years of OSIRIS, Drenthe has been active in a way that differs from the first period. In the first period, we addressed OSIRIS targets by realizing social economic activities. In phase 2, the COVID-19 period, we want to focus on the process of social projects. And we call that Communities in Control, the theme of this webinar. Where the community itself has the responsibility for the project from the idea till the realization. OSIRIS is the helping hand and lifts up the project where and when it is needed. I will give 2 examples of different projects, though both are socially motivated and designed to be future-proof. First, community of Eeksterveen. Rolina shall talk about it. The village of Eeksterveen is the base of our project Communities in Control. The success of this approach and the needs of the community led to an initiative to work on the community center to recover it and give it a broader function. In co-creation with the residents, the center has been partly rebuilt to update it and make it future-proof. The community center is owned by the community, as opposed to the standard situation where it would be owned by the local authorities. The ownership situation shows that the village has a powerful community association. There was and is a broad support for buying the building and running for it by the residents. It's a giant step for such a little village with almost 400 inhabitants, as well as for the local government. So Eeksteveen has its residents as well is for its residents as well for the tourists. Everybody is welcome and can organize something or take part in community activities. The second example is Sustainable Dalen. It's short running now. The village of Dalen has very active community. The residents initiate or take part in new developments and have created several communities services like an adventure garden, playground, social village square, sport tracks, etc. Just for the beginning of the COVID-19 period, a number of residents initiated a new project, making the whole village energy self-sufficient. In the Netherlands, most homes are being heated by gas. The Village Action Group asked the village people to be part of a project to change their heating systems from gas to electricity. In accordance with the government's policy, and not knowing we did have a gas crisis at the moment, with rocketing gas prices on our hands. Electricity will be obtained from sun or wind, so moving from fossil fuels like gas and oil to renewable energy. Such a process is a giant step for volunteers. It takes a lot of time, energy, social risk and courage to work it out. On top of that, the project started at an unlucky moment that most residents were grounded by the pandemic. Live contacts and house calls were impossible. The process has been running for almost 2 years now. These 2 COVID years were spent on researching and surveying the best methods to handle this major transition in practice. The University of Groningen helped the volunteers with the research and analysis of the questionnaire that was distributed door to door in the village. Now at the moment that all COVID measures has been lifted and physical contacts are possible again, there's a chance to change. This is a moment to take concrete steps to realize the project. Realization of such a project in a village with more than 1,000 houses is an enormous challenge for volunteers. OSIRIS is helping the volunteers with the social elements of the initiative, making the connection with the village people, keeping the project rolling and bring it forward into the next step.
Okay, 1,000 houses. That's a lot. But how did they stay in contact during COVID? Did they had webinars or something?
They were in the contact with the people by the newspaper, local newspaper, and also they spread flyers in the community.
Okay.
Mostly. And you had also the medium of Teams, where you can have meetings with people in the village. Okay,
thank you.
I had a question too, Gerard. The financial side of the project in Dalen might be a bit problematic. How did the residents solve that barrier, that financial barrier?
Yeah, it's an understandable question, and it's logical because it's very expensive to realize it. But we are not in a stadium to realize a project now. But it's foreseen that there will become financial barriers. They are looking for solutions with all the residents before starting implementation. Before the project starts, they will have a solution for that. Inhabitants can have and be their own measures for themselves. It's all private investments, what they do. And they can have loans without interest from the province, so that they can help the people. It's an umbrella project. The steering group facilitates and is a booster in the community. But they will not invest in the materials to lift up the houses.
Okay. Only in the process.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'm curious, how did the OSIRIS project influence the policy of the province of Drenthe?
Yeah, OSIRIS changed the policy of the province on social aspects. Mm-hmm. And we get more open in our way to give support to initiatives, and we get more on the radio.
The radio.
on the radio, it's building in. For the invitate people and groups to come with ideas. We want to less by ourselves, with local people, and has the power to realize projects. So we are there for the support and the knowledge, and the people, the residents, are there for the projects, the realized projects.
Yeah, so it's more facilitating than just telling. Okay, thank you. More questions? No. Checking if there are questions from the viewers. There are not, but people, let me remind you of the possibility to ask questions to our guests at the table. You can do that by the WhatsApp number. Well, we go to Rolina then.
Yes, Gerard already talked about Eeksteveen. Before I start telling about the project, I will tell you something about myself. So my name is Rolina, and I'm 50 years old. I live in the village of Eeksteveen. I was born there, I was raised there until I went away for study and for work. And in 2004 or 2005, I came back to my village. And in 2008, I became the secretary of the foundation that manages the village hall. Well, Eeksteveen is a very small village in the northeast of the province of Drenthe, in the county Hunze, and contains about 500 inhabitants. Gerard said 400, but
That's a big difference.
We enlarged a little.
No decline.
So the first mention of Eeksteveen dates back to the year 1505 because of peat extraction. But it was only like 150 years ago that the village emerged as the agricultural village as it is today. And nowadays only a few farmers are still active. The majority of the residents, of the inhabitants, they work elsewhere in other jobs. We have some buildings in the village. There's a public primary school, a gym building, which was almost also entirely built by the community itself. And we have many associations, so like billiards, cycling, drama, elderly people, for the youth. There is a community association. We have a historical society, and there are a lot of more. The village of the building where I want to talk about is, of course, the community center. The building itself was built in 1983, and it was probably one of the first multi-purpose buildings in the region, and housed at that time a cafe, a shop, and the village hall, the community hall. It was partly owned by a private individual, so the cafe and the shop were owned by a private individual, and the village hall was owned by the county Hunze. From 2001 to 2018, only the village hall, so the part of the county was owned by the county Hunze, could be used because the private owner no longer wanted to operate the cafe and the shop. So we only had a small a building to organize activities. It was a real major setback for Eeksteveen and the residents, so they had to make more effort to meet each other. The cafe is, of course, a good one to meet each other. So if there is only a small community center, it downsizes the activities and the meetings. So, and it was also not exactly optimal because in terms of space and layout, part of the building which the community center was in did not face the street, so it was almost invisible. You had to know it to go there. And then in 2016, the private owner wanted to sell his part of the building. And, he knocked on the door of the county Hunze. And the county said, no, we are not going to buy the property. So therefore they approached the foundation that managed the village hall, of which I am the secretary. Well, it was really a golden opportunity for us, for the association, but for all the residents and associations in Eeksterveen to develop a very nice meeting place, a real community center. But yeah, it sounds so simple, like I say it. Of course, it doesn't work that way. It became a very large project with many stakeholders, and also, of course, it requires a lot of money to start something like that as a community. So, going back at Jan's story, we didn't use a specific method or instruction. We came just up with a plan by taking several steps. And those are the steps Jan described. So we did it. Yeah. We did it good. Mm-hmm. First, we informed all the stakeholders, the county, of course, the associations, and then the residents. And we did this in various ways, via a local newsletter, via information meetings, and by talking to people, like Jan said, door to door. How do you think about this? What are your wishes? So we collected those wishes and ideas and brought them together in a plan. So in that way, the entire village was actually aware of our of what we wanted to achieve. Namely that we wanted to buy the building, the complete building, as a village, and to set it up as a community hall, a big community hall. And that way it became not only the dream of the foundation, but to the entire village of Eeksterveen, because a plan alone will not get you there. You have to, but when you have a well-supported plan, well, then you have a very good basis for finding sponsors or other lenders. And it is very important to enthuse volunteers to contribute. And it was no surprise for us that in a crowdfunding campaign, the 50,000 bond loan that we lent in the village was full very quickly. And those contributions from the village were the reason for private funds, as Oranje Fonds, VSB, to support us financially as well. So then we bought the entire property, the former cafe, the shop, and merged it again with the community center. And so Eeksterveen created a real meeting place at Dorpscentrum, as we call it. It's now our community center. And through the shared dream, more than 90 volunteers helped remodel, renovate, and redecorate our purchase. So 500 inhabitants and 90 volunteers. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's 20%.
Yes. Yeah. The total process of purchase and renovation and the complete building took about 3 years. But yeah, after the moment of opening, it was a real success straight away. So there are many meetings, many activities, and the village and the societies, and we have a manager who operates the community center. Well, they all contribute to the success and then the current success. Well, it sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not really only a fairy tale. It requires continuous hard work to maintain a healthy operation and to fulfill all the wishes of different target groups. The more people, the more wishes. So we needed to improve the quality of the building in order to continue to being the bustling center for get-togethers, for chance meetings, and taking care of each other in the future, because that's really what we care about. And therefore we launched a new plan in 2021. So the last half year, 8 months maybe, we have enlarged the catering kitchen, and we have transformed a very dull meeting room to a lounge cafe, as we call it, a huiskamercafé, a living room cafe. We did this again with the help of volunteers and with financial support from Leader POP3, a European Fund for Rural Development, and Gerard works for the Leader in the Province of Drenthe and has been a very good advisor to us. In Eeksteveen, we are aware that we are based in a region that is experiencing a decline in the population. But we think we can do a lot ourselves to keep the village livable for young and also for elderly people. We believe in active citizenship, and there are threats of dejuvenation and the aging population, and also no affordable houses for starters, for young people. But Eeksteveen felt the urge to turn these threats into opportunities. And maybe we can first look at a small video, well, in the last 6 months that we were building.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was nice to see. It was a big job. And what else?
Yeah, well, Eeksteveen is very committed to at least maintaining the quality of life and social cohesion in the community, but preferably to improve it. So we don't sit back. We want to go further and improve. So, for example, young people should be offered entertainment and housing, and the elderly should be able to continue to live comfortably and vitally in their own familiar environment. We want Eeksteveen to be a life-proof village. We sincerely believe in that and work hard to make that happen. So a large part of the population felt and still feels that the village hall is owned by the village, and the feeling that it now really belongs to us gives a certain energy and strength. So the residents are in the lead, not the local authority. For us, it is important to do things ourselves without government agencies or other parties telling us what to do. We make sure that we can get things done ourselves. And that is not to say that you cannot be advised or inspired by others. That can bring a lot, but in the end, you still make the choices that can suit the village and the residents.
Okay,
so that was my story about our community center.
Very impressive. Do you feel like you've taken more seriously by the local government, because you did such a big project and you really showed that you can manage the community?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, in the last few years, well, only look like I'm sitting here now because we inspired people, not only the residents of our own village, but also other villages in the county Aanhunze, and maybe probably in Drenthe. So yeah, they know that when you have a group of enthusiastic people and you believe in the plan they have, and you see that they are well informed and they know how to organize it. Aanhunze gives you the credits for what we've done. So yeah, I really believe in that.
Yeah, it's nice. And what's your advice to other villages?
Follow the
steps.
The steps. Yes. First, have an idea and don't keep it to yourself. But talk to people, share it, talk to people in the village, go to door to door and believe in your plan. We had really hard times getting it financially done. Also the COVID, of course, when we started with the last project of the enlarging of the kitchen. Yeah, we also coped with that because I am in a association with people above 60, so Teams meetings were not very easily. So go door to door, speak about it, believe in your plan. Never let the rules take control of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question too, Rowena. Your project is one of the best examples of an initiative that was born in the community. Can you see that when you look at the results, in the sense that more people are using the community center and the financial results are okay, that there's good turnover and maybe profits?
Yeah, really. Like we had the very small center hall, community hall, so it could only facilitate 40 people at most, and now we can have 120 or more, and people know it. So and therefore we did the second part of the second project because it was too successful. Sometimes people wanted to come for eating. People want to
needed the extra space.
Meeting, yes, to drink a beer, and it cannot be at the same time. So we want take care of people so they can meet each other. Yeah, so it's
and
really
financial
enlarged.
work, does that work financially as well?
Yeah, the manager who operates the you can live by.
The turnover.
Yeah, yes.
The income.
Yes,
Of
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay.
Yes, Rina, your community is very enthusiastic and has reached super goals for the community. It's a challenge to maintain that high level. Are you planning new projects, new steps?
Well, we are still working on this project, so we will end it this year. And of course, we have still goals, but they are not that big as we had the last 5 years. Well, it is a concern to keep things going, like in probably other societies, communities, villages, maybe even in families. You also have people who have ideas, and the other ones follow. So you have to keep the people with ideas
Coming up.
coming up. Yes. So that is well, it's not a threat, but it's a challenge. But we don't walk away for challenges. So
Good luck.
yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's time for the last presentation now. Unfortunately, Marcel Endendijk, who should be here with us, is not here right now because he's in the hospital due to circumstances. Instead of Marcel, Jan is going to give the presentation. So Jan, tell us about the craft project.
Thank you, Marije. I will do that in a moment. But first I want to introduce Joost, the blacksmith. The first slide. Sorry about announcing the slides, but I had to take over really last minute. So we'll have to
improvise.
We'll have to improvise. Yeah,
that's no problem.
That's Joost. Yes, Joost. Joost is working in his smithy here in this picture, and Joost is a pivotal entrepreneur in the OSIRIS craft project. I'll come back to Joost later on. The second one, please. The craft project is a part of the OSIRIS program in Southeast Drenthe. In Southeast Drenthe, in that region, we have a lot of small businesses, and a large number of them are crafts industries or craft related. And keeping those afloat is a really socioeconomic necessity for the area. In a number of meetings with entrepreneurs, with craft entrepreneurs, we found this, a need for support and cooperation and strengthening their entrepreneurship, a wish to build networks, new guilds maybe, and a need to find and tap into new markets. Now, to turn that into a project, we needed two things. One, an organization that was going to coordinate this, and we needed a craft broker, as we called him, a sort of linking pin between all the entrepreneurs' activities. Well, the first thing we found, the organization that had to coordinate this, we found it in UNESCO Global Geopark, the Hondsrug. Very grateful that they were taking this job on because it was quite a job for them and not their daily work either. But they were prepared to do this. And the second requirement, a craft broker, we found in Dirk Jan. Sorry, I'm forgetting to tell you that yes, that's the one we need. That we have to change slides. Sorry. So Dirk Jan lives and works in the region and had the skills to be the craft broker. So we could start. We had all the requirements in place. And we started with several branch meetings, and later on we mixed the branch meetings so that we had yes, in that sorry, so that we could connect the several branches. There's been a lot of brainstorming in those sessions, and those sessions were really, they were enthusiastic. People were happy to meet each other, didn't know each other in part. And it was bustling to speak with you, Rolina. It was bustling with ideas. We had planned to have 100 new ideas for product mark combinations, but I think we exceeded that. But I can't explain all those ideas to you. So I picked out, or rather Marcel picked out a few examples that I'm going to tell you about. The next one, please. Yes. Yeah, that one. One idea was to create a local shop where many craft entrepreneurs from different branches could bring their products together. And this became the homestead in Dalen again, by the way. This workshop, this local shop, is also Joost's workshop. This is where he has his smithy. And his wife works here as well, Melissa, and she is a wool weaver. So she's also part of she's another branch, as it were, in the entrepreneurs. Well, and the next one, please. And then Corona kicked in. So sort of it stopped. Entrepreneurs couldn't contact each other anymore live, couldn't exchange products. So it seemed like a dead end for the project. But then Joost and Melissa, the blacksmith and the wool weaver, they decided to go digital. And what you see is the result of that digital presentation they do. And we thought that's a very good idea. So maybe the other entrepreneurs should follow this. And in the project, we followed it indeed, and we helped many craftsmen to go digital by visiting them. Corona, so we had our gear. But we went to their workplaces with two modern craftsmen, and one was a photographer, the other was a writer. So they were modern craftspeople. And they made presentations for every entrepreneur. We collected all these presentations in one place on the website of the Geopark. It's very nice. You can see all kinds of different entrepreneurs. In the one you see, the next one. The next one shows you how that looks on the Geopark website, and you see a chocolate maker, puppet repair shop, and a basket weaver, which 3 very, very different types of entrepreneur. And the next one, please. And on the next one, you can see how very, very different they are. Like a very modern one, a business cartoonist, Esther, and Anja, who weaves baskets. Very ancient profession. And it's very nice to see these very different entrepreneurs and very different branches to come together, because that's what we did in the next slide. That's what we did. This gave us the idea that maybe all these entrepreneurs could create a good combination, for instance, by having business gifts and Christmas boxes containing all these several products. So a basket from Anja, chocolate from Sam, a drawing by Esther, etc., etc. And you can fill this in for yourself. Next one, please. Then we had the story trails. An app, an interactive app, where you can find several tours. For instance, the next one. For instance, the crafts tour. You can click on the QR code, and then you get the site and you get the route. But you can make your own tour by clicking on the different entrepreneurs and craft businesses on the site that you want to visit. And of course, maybe in some cases you have to make an appointment in advance, but you can plan your tour by means of this tool, and also the entrepreneurs are being highlighted in this way. The next one, please. This is how it looks when you click on it, and you can see Joost again in his smithy, the homestead. It's the third one from above on the left. This is what you see, this small map, and within the map you can click on several entrepreneurs. Next one, please. And then we have also a food crafts tour. And it says Lekker Lokaal tour, which means tasty and local. And this tour is a food sector tour. The next one, please. Very different also, honey, veggies, cheese, lamb chops, and you name it. So this is a very different one as well, but it's all food. Okay, the last one, please. So, lessons learned. Mm-hmm. Networking is what Marcel wrote. And he's right. But this networking needs a linking pin. We needed that craft broker, and we were very happy to have him. It was a bottom-up process, and the process was done with authorities, with existing tools and with existing instruments, but also creating new ones in co-creation with the entrepreneurs. And Marcel also wrote step by step, no blueprint, which is not to say that you don't have to use the 5 steps, mm-hmm. but you have to go slowly. We found out that sometimes something that we threw into the meeting just didn't work. Okay, what would you like to do then? What is a better way to go ahead? And that's what he means by step by step. Just finding out together how you can continue. Well, a brief wrap-up was this of a lovely project. I thought it was a lovely project. And it has a lasting effect on the entrepreneurs, and you can still see and find them on websites. So I was very happy with this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It really sounds great, all the tours. I feel like going there right now. So.
Yeah. You have to do them by car, though.
By car?
Yeah.
Oh, I can do them
And
by
bike. Bike is also possible,
bike.
but
I can do that.
the distances are too large to be able to walk them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a project for later on.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So, questions?
Marcel is a very enthusiastic man.
Yes.
But it looks difficult to handle such a project with mostly elderly people. Is it?
Well, the thing is, it wasn't only elderly people. You can see that in the a lot of them. Okay, but not only elderly people, and also they felt a need to continue this. So the project was kept alive because the need to participate was great for all these entrepreneurs. They could really improve their business and their entrepreneurship by this. And of course, they were stimulating each other.
Yeah.
They really stimulated each other in those branch meetings and the mixed branch meetings. And of course, once you start doing Christmas boxes, well, the party is on, you know. So, yeah.
Endless possibilities.
Yes, definitely.
great.
Yeah. And it's unending. I mean, inevitably, you find other methods and more ways to cooperate than we can think of now.
Yeah. And if we had to do the project all over again, do you think we should do something different?
No, not really. I really think that's a sad thing. The project ends and our craft broker stopped as well. And I think if we want to continue it in the high vibe that it had, I think we need another craft broker.
Yeah.
I think we have to find ways to pay for someone who can do this. I think that's a very important lesson, and that's one thing that maybe we should have thought about more in the project, how we could continue after the project money stopped.
Okay, thank you. More questions for Jan?
Yeah, I had a question, but you already told that it's a bottom-up project, like in Eeksteveen, as we did. And now you say the project stopped, and there's no craft broker anymore. But if I don't live in that region, but if I was a craftsman, can I still join the group, or is it?
Yes, there is a network, and that network can still be joined. I'm not quite sure about the official boundaries of the area where the network works, but I do remember that in the beginning we were talking about having people from the west region of Drenthe to join us. I'm not sure that happened, but that's
so it's
really,
not a closed group.
No. It's something that should grow and strengthen itself and getting more and more enthusiastic and drive and.
So you can, in the end, you can go walking.
Yeah, definitely. Probably, yes. Yeah, true.
Yeah, it should spread.
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, great. It sounds all very successful, the project you did. But you must have made a mistake somewhere. So.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the mistake? And
well,
what did you learn?
There are several sorts of mistakes,
nice.
actually. Skipping steps. Like only thinking of the investment you have to do and not thinking about the turnover and the profits that you have to generate to keep the project afloat. Or only thinking we want a building and not really thinking of what you want to do in it. So you want a building, okay, what are you going to do? Oh, we don't know. So, we have to think about that. Or residents who only see dollars when there's a grant of the province or OSIRIS or leader or whatever, and without having a vision or without having community support, small groups thinking, hey, there's money there, and what can we do with this? Not a bad idea, not a bad way of thinking, but you have to do that with the community. Or, what we learned is again and again and again, do those 5+ steps and just don't skip any.
Yeah.
And if you skip one by accident, go back to it and do it as well. After all, yeah. Okay. That was, I think, and there's a long list of that.
Yeah.
I have a very short list now, but there's many of these small mistakes or big mistakes were made in the course of the project. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you. So it all comes back to the 5 steps Jan mentioned, step by step, going through the process and really connecting with local people in the villages. Okay.
Yes, one of my mistakes, but there are many mistakes. I was sometimes too much beside the project. I have a busy job and I was waiting for questions from partners, but not looking for questions. I think you had to look for questions and you come in contact with the project partners, digitally, physical, it both can you do. And I've learned to take more when you have contact. And that's my learn point, looking for contact with partners, innovative projects, you can learn about it.
Yeah. So stay in touch.
Yeah.
Don't wait till they
Don't
come to
wait.
you. Just
Be active.
be active,
Yeah.
be visible. Yeah. That's a good lesson. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm looking at the time and it's, I think it's time to end now. So, Gerard, Jan, Rolina, I really like to thank you for sharing your stories and your successes and also your mistakes with us. It's really inspiring, I think. And, well, thank you at home for viewing. So I hope we've inspired you too.
And could I add
Yeah.
one closing line?
One closing line, yes.
Always make sure you're in control.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I agree.